Now let's talk about this more with former U.S. Congressman and former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Pete Hoekstra. He also is a Showman Senior Fellow for the Investigative Project on Terrorism. Thank you for rejoining us again, sir.
Good to be here, yes.
So your take on this public opinion poll, are you surprised by its findings?
No, I mean, I think since the election and the 3 weeks before the election, Mr. Trump has done a tremendous number of things very, very well, especially since the election in terms of allaying a lot of the fears or concerns that some Americans had. I'm surprised the number actually isn't somewhat higher. But then again, who believes polls? They got it all wrong before the election. Why are we focusing on polls today?
I have to say I'm with you on that. President-elect Donald Trump, needless to say, posted a video on social media. He didn't mention any polls, I believe, and he laid out his agenda for the first 100 days.
My agenda will be based on a simple core principle: putting America first. Whether it's producing steel, building cars, or curing disease, I want the next generation of production and innovation to happen right here on our great homeland, America, creating wealth and jobs for American workers. As part of this plan, I've asked my transition team to develop a list of executive actions we can take on day one to restore our laws and bring back our jobs. It's about time.
We're talking about jobs, we're talking about work, but Congressman, some of the things that he didn't mention, building a wall and repealing Obamacare. Any reason why you think that the president-elect left those off, and was this a wise move on his part?
Well, you got to, again, words make a difference. What he was talking about today were things that he can do by executive action. He can terminate our participation in the Trans-Pacific Partnership through executive action. He can do work on immigration in terms of exploring abuses of the visa system. He can do that through his executive agencies. So that's what the 100 days that he was talking about today were: executive actions, things that he can do as president with a stroke of a pen. I think later on you'll hear the 100 days in terms of what he intends to do with Congress. That is Obamacare. That's getting the money to build a wall and those types of things. So, no, at this point, I'm not concerned about this. What I'm excited about is he's told Congress, basically, be prepared to work 5 days a week from the beginning of January through at least Easter. It's great that they're starting to see a 5-day work week in Washington.
Newsmax CEO Christopher Ruddy recently wrote an article for our website, Newsmax.com, and he was outlining what he thinks should be the 5 cornerstones of Trump's presidency. So here they are, Congressman. First, he lists jobs in the economy. Mr. Ruddy writes that most Americans have been living in a stagnant economy for almost a decade now, and that Trump could be the guy to fix that. Second, something you mentioned, Obamacare. Now, Mr. Ruddy says Trump's idea to keep some of the few good parts of Obamacare. Ruddy also offers his own idea: just improve Medicaid and use it to give all uninsured blanket coverage. Third on his list, military. Mr. Ruddy argues that we are losing our status as a superpower, especially when it comes to our military edge. Trump realizes this and should make it one of his main focuses. Fourth, inclusion. He says America is polarized and divided, that the election showed that. Demographics still don't favor Republicans. Trump needs to prove that he is really the citizens' president. And finally, lastly, Ruddy focused on media diversity. The media still to this day, he believes, is fighting against Trump, not at all in line with what the founding fathers had in mind when it came to a free press. Trump, according to Ruddy, needs a diverse press to ensure a free flow of information, which is vital to our democracy. And again, you can find that on our website, Newsmax.com. Congressman, what is your take on what Mr. Ruddy outlined there? Anything that should be emphasized more?
Well, clearly, you know, the world needs, America needs Newsmax to give a counterpoint to mainstream media. But as you go through the rest of the items, I think he's very much head on and directly on point, doing something to fix Obamacare. And yeah, not every part of Obamacare was bad. There were a couple of few points in it. Keep the good points and put it into new legislation. The military clearly is a focus. Donald Trump has also said he is about inclusion. He wants to go into places like Detroit, into Chicago, into our inner cities, and create an environment where kids are safe, where they can get a great education, and after they get a good education, to get a good job. So I think Chris is very much in sync with what needs to happen in the country, but I think he's also in sync with what Donald Trump wants to get accomplished.
Now, based on your experience and your dealings with Mr. Trump, is there anything that you would like to add to that list?
No, I mean, I think, national security, I think, but you see this with the few appointments that he's already made. Containing and defeating ISIS is absolutely critical. That probably fits into that. Immigration reform, securing the borders and those types of things, tax reform. Again, you can increase the list fairly quickly, but I think the 5 that are outlined are just fine. There's hopefully some other things that they will also get done in year 1. It's a complete package. It's a complete overhaul, draining the swamp in Washington. All these things fit together, and it's going to be one busy year for Mr. Trump and for Congress. I know Trump's got the energy to get it done. It'll be interesting to see whether Congress does.
Yeah, his energy amazes everyone, doesn't it? When we talked about the stock market a little earlier with Liz Peek, it ended at a record high yesterday. Do you think that this is due to the confidence in the incoming presidency? And could this, in your opinion, be a sign of things to come?
Well, I sure hope so. Again, Donald Trump wants to put America back to work. He wants to create a strong economy. We get to be the strongest economy in the world. We grow that economy. The markets will rebound. But I think Donald Trump is not worried about the markets at this point. What Donald Trump is worried about is making sure that all Americans have an opportunity for a good job, and that they see rising incomes and those types of things. The rest of it will take care of itself. And so the markets can be fickle. What he wants is a strength and a security in the economy so that Americans feel comfortable.
Right. Well, we talked about Chris Ruddy talking about media diversity. Donald Trump met with many media executives yesterday at Trump Tower. Many prominent anchors and executives from the Alphabet networks and other cable news stations met with the president-elect and the New York Post. According to the New York Post, sources claim that the meeting was a disaster, where Trump attacked CNN for its biased coverage. We've heard Kellyanne Conway say that that is absolutely not true. Do you think, Congressman, that Trump will try to mend the fences? This is not unusual for a president-elect to meet with people of the media. Some people are making it out to be. But do you think he'll try to mend the fences with the media, or do you think that this is just a lost cause?
Oh, I think he'll try to mend the fences, but what expectation does he really believe that the media will change its stripes at this point, that the anchors and media personnel who are primarily liberal will actually change their point of view? Remember, somebody like the LA Times came out, I think, the day before the election and said Hillary Clinton was going to get 350-some electoral votes. The whole 3 months leading up to this election was most of the media saying Donald Trump is an awful person. There's no way that he's going to win. They were wrong. I don't know if they're just so bad at journalism and so bad at analysis, or whether they actually cook the books. But in either case, who really cares? I think one of the big losers out of this election cycle is mainstream media. They've lost all their credibility because they have proven to be wrong, and they did not cover this election in a fair manner.
Now, you mentioned polls earlier, so I just want to go back to that. Do you think that they were too reliant on those polls for their information, and maybe that's why, or do you think that they just naturally lean too far to the left anyway?
Oh, I think it's primarily the pollsters, the analysts, the media folks. They're in this bubble in Washington. All they do is talk to themselves. They don't go into the heartland. They don't go to Michigan and drive around Michigan or Ohio or Pennsylvania or Wisconsin. And they don't see the small towns that are in despair because, the factories have left town and those types of things. And, when you're not doing that, you don't get a feel and a pulse for America, where Americans really are. That's what they miss. They're listening to numbers. There's so much emotion in this campaign. That's what polls don't get to.
Yeah, I have to say, day right after the election, I was like, ooh, I'd hate to be a pollster right now because just about everybody, not everybody, but just about everybody got it wrong. We only
Right.
have a few seconds remaining, but as you know, Kellyanne Conway has now admitted that she has been offered a spot on Trump's cabinet. She hasn't said what that is or whether or not she'll accept it. Where would you put Kellyanne Conway if you were in charge?
Oh, I put her in a number of different jobs, the senior White House advisor. I wouldn't put her as the spokesperson. She's much bigger than that in this campaign. She's been kind of the glue that I think has held this campaign together.
Congressman, thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure to have you as always. We'll be right back.